In this video, we will be working on the Math 8 volume of cylinders. This is the main lesson. The assignment volume.1 goes along with this lesson. I can determine volume, height, and radius of a cylinder. You need to be able to do all three when given the other information. First, some information on what a cylinder is. A cylinder is a prism with a circular base. The volume of a prism is V equals BH, where B is the base area and H is the height. For a cylinder, you can use the fact that the area of a circle is pi r squared, gives us the formula V equals pi r squared H, where r is the radius of the base circle, H is the height of the circle, which is the distance between the two circular bases, and V is the volume, or the amount of space inside the cylinder. Now I'd like you to follow the following steps as you calculate these. Step 1, write the formula. Please do this every time. It'll help you memorize the formula. Step 2, you're going to write your known values down. Those can be written on top of the picture or just listed. Rewrite the formula, plugging in your known values, and then evaluate or solve if you're finding the height or radius. Let's look at our first example. Determine the volume. In this cone, we should be able to identify, not cone, this is actually a cylinder. Maybe I want ice cream, I don't know. But for this cylinder, we first identify that it is a cylinder, and then write down the formula, V equals pi r squared H, that we would use to find the volume of this cylinder. Now plugging in, well, we're not plugging in anything yet. Then we identify our variables. R is 3 and H is 6. Or you could write out underneath R is 3, H is 6. Next, we would plug in these numbers, pi r squared, R is 3, and H is 6. Pi times 3 squared times 6. And then it's a matter of going to the calculator on this. I guess if you don't have access to a calculator, you could use 3.14 for pi and long multiply all this out. This gives 169.6460033, but we're going to round that to 169.6. And the units here, of course, since it's volume, meters cubed. Meters because it's being measured in meters. Meters cubed because volume is a cubic measurement. Okay, that's the example for determining volume. In the next example, we're going to determine height. Here you can see a cylinder. Since it is a cylinder, we'll start by writing down the formula for the cylinder. Then we will identify things we know from the problem. We know that R is, well, if we look at this, 10 is indicating all the way across. That would be the diameter of the cylinder. We only want the radius, so we're going to have to take 10 and divide it by 2 to get the radius of 5. Next, the other thing we have is the volume. The volume is given as 314 cubic inches. Of course, I guess the radius is 5 inches. Then we plug in the information. We don't know the H, so we're going to leave it alone. V, we're going to plug in 314. And then pi, R is 5 squared times H. Now, maybe I'll change the color of the H here to point out we do want to know what H is. We're going to have to solve for H. And in order to get H by itself, we've got to divide by all of this stuff. A couple of ways you can go about that. One way, go ahead and calculate on your calculator pi times 5 squared, and that comes out about 78.54. And that will equal 314 on the other side. Right here, this is a little less accurate because we're rounding early, but it is a little less prone for mistakes. When I divide here, 314 divided by 78.54, I get that H is equal to 3.999 or 9979 We're just going to call that 4 inches in this case. Now, another method that could be done is on your calculator, generally there's parentheses so that you can hold things together. You could type in, well, from this point here, 314 equals pi 5 squared h. We would divide both sides by pi 5 squared. If you do this method, you do need to be careful that when you type this into the calculator, you type it in such a way that the calculator will give you the right answer. It needs to be typed in as 314 divided by, and then you're going to have to use the parenthesis function to group all of that together and close it together, or close the parentheses to finish it out. Another option here is realizing that you're dividing by everything here. You can divide by pi and then divide by 5 squared. That will also work for you. And it comes out to give you the same answer when you round of 4 inches. So that does give you a couple of options there. Let's take a look at the next example, example 3. In this example, you'll notice we do not currently know the radius. The radius is unknown. So first recognize that it is a cylinder. Therefore, the formula, V equals pi r squared h. V is 1,105.8 cubic feet. H is 22 feet. Next step, you would plug in V, 1,005.8. R, we don't know, so we leave it as R, and H is 22. Again, this can be done the two ways, as we did on the other side. Way number 1, on my calculator, I calculate 22 times pi, and that is 69.11502, etc., or 03 r squared, and that equals 1105.8. Then I would divide by this 69.115. Yeah. 0.115. Okay, and in my calculator, 1105.8 divided by 69.115, and that comes out 15.9994 equals r squared. We're going to go ahead and round that off to 16, and then we square root both sides, and the square root of 16 is 4. So we get a radius of 4 feet. Again, the other method you can go to at this point, which I find a little quicker, but possibly more likely to make a mistake, just divide by 22 pi on both sides. And you can type all of it in your calculator. Just remember to put parentheses around your 22 pi. And this comes out to be 15.99 something. So we go ahead and rounding it to 16. We do get an R value, a radius of 4 feet. Feet because feet are the units being used in this example. All right. So the assignment that goes along with this is volume.1. You can review this video as many times as is needed. And thank you for watching.